BATNA and risky negotiation tactics. Uh, um, Negotiation is present in our life every day, yet if you like it or not. So it might be present in a more informal way when we negotiate with our partners, what activities we should do in a weekend, or what movie should we go to the cinema to see, or more formal in a way that we negotiate our salary, a promotion, or a new car. Uh, I am. This is my third time I'm speaking about negotiation, so I will be a bit more specific because the devil is in the details. So I'm going to talk about BATNA and risky negotiation tactics. And why do I mean by that? Or what do I mean by that? So BATNA is best alternative to a negotiated agreement. This is something everybody should have or should go through before a negotiation, and it goes hand in hand with my personality. I really like preparing before having or doing something. So BATNA, if you go to a negotiation, you should have that. You should know exactly what you want from that negotiation, what is the desired outcome, what is the least amount of um, goods, or what is the minimum value that you should get from that negotiation. If you don't have that, you're not prepared enough, and you should not go to negotiation. So this is BATNA. This is similar to what the Toastmaster manual or website is showing us, or is giving us by that sheet with objectives. So these are similar concepts. What do I mean by risky negotiation tactics? There are some cases when we are in a position of power. And when we're doing that, we tend to negotiate from an aggressive point of view, competitive, and we give the others much less than we should have. So my message today would be towards that situation when we should have a specific mindset, and I will tell you exactly how I think you should approach those cases, because you will learn how to tackle these difficult situations when, even though you have the upper hand, you might not gain anything because people might refuse to cooperate. In the past, I used such techniques, and one such example is the one that so if you play Monopoly, you know that there are cases, and I encounter such cases when I had multiple resources from one type, let's say rock, and the others didn't have much or didn't have any. So many times I use this competitive approach when I say or had an attitude of take it or leave it, or I give you one rock, you give me three ship, yeah. So this is something that can go into this category, and it's not the best way to approach the tactics, the situation, because people might refuse. And in my experience, most often than not, they refuse. They prefer to just give 4 ships to the bank than give me 3 ships. Why? Because they consider that the bargain is not fair. This outcome is also proven by science, and the scientists had a similar example, not with monopoly, but with money. So they, on a group of subjects, they had a case where one of them gets $10 or 10 lei if he manages to give another party, or to negotiate with another party to give some amount of that money. So for example, I have 10 lei. If I manage to give you 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lei, we can split that amount. If I don't manage to do that, nobody gets anything. And the research showed that if the amount of money that I give you, it's small, like 1 or 2 lei, you will refuse the bargain, even though from an economy point of view, you get something. So 1 leu, it's much more than nothing. People refuse this because they considered that this is not fair. And even though they lost, they preferred that option. So um, the moral of the story here is that even though if you are in a position of strength, you have the power in that negotiation, you should consider being fair with the others and having or taking a win-win approach. And by win-win, I mean you also win the relationship, not only the outcome for that negotiation. Because it might might encounter cases when you will first of all need to negotiate again with that person, and if you ruin the relationship, it will be more difficult, or you will even lose the negotiation at hand because people consider that it's not fair, and they will refuse to go ahead, even though they objectively lose more when they refuse the bargain. So all in all, I think you should prepare for a negotiation, and this is what I mean by BATNA. And also for these cases, when you prepare your negotiation, you should take into consideration to pay attention to what the other person needs and to be empathic or empathetic. So not try to squeeze as much as possible and really have a win-win situation, not really a win-lose situation when the other person becomes emotional and refuses to continue the negotiation. Thank you.
Dear Petre, dear audience, I think it's the first time I'm evaluating you. And for a small part of it, I'm gonna follow your advice and take advantage of the fact that you cannot chase me on the street these days and throw tomatoes or anything else. I'm gonna start with the parts that I liked, and they are not small in number. So the first thing I liked is the way you connected with us. You said in the first sentence, negotiation is present in our everyday life, and you gave the examples of negotiating with our partners or in our jobs, new cars, and so on. Second, you said that this BATNA model is something that's very suitable for you and your personality. And I felt that gave you some sort of legitimacy to come and talk to us about it, because my understanding was that you use it. Third thing I liked was the fact that you connected somehow this model with Toastmasters, and you said it's something similar to our manual and the way we prepare. What I didn't understand is what BATNA actually is, because my expectation, especially it's written in capital letters, was that it's an acronym, and I didn't hear you explaining what that means. If it's not an acronym, then what is it? What kind of technique? The only thing I understood is that it's a way of preparing, a technique of preparing. Um, what I've noticed from your other speeches is that you have a certain labyrinthic way of presenting a topic, which might in some moments lose your audience. And if you lose focus for even 5 seconds, it's a high possibility that you lose the entire thread. My impression, and I'm convinced that you are a very smart guy, and you I feel that you start with the assumption that your audience is very smart as well. And sometimes I feel that you are very afraid to state the obvious. But sometimes what's obvious, it's only obvious for you. And sometimes for an audience, it helps for you to even state the obvious. So what I would suggest for you to put more clarity in your speeches would be, I don't know if when you prepare, you write them, but I would suggest writing them down, um, and actually writing the structure, phase one, phase two, phase three, and then what exactly do you want your audience to be left with? What is the message of your speech? Writing down, I think, forces more clarity than just expressing, just saying it out loud with words. I hope it made sense. I have some other suggestions as well, but I don't have any more time. So thank you very much, Petre Huruiala, for your speech, and we can talk more on this. Thank you.